Good morning, great Americans. It's another great American video from Kentucky and yours truly. Well, there's a million videos and a million stories out there about the State of the Union address. And so it's kind of difficult for me to add to that. There's also a million stories and videos out there about the uh, uh, Academy Awards the other night. So it's sort of hard for me to add to that. So what I'd like to do is, in light of those two recent events, is to really sort of recap a theme that I have mentioned over and over, and a theme that was on full display at the State of the Union address and at the Academy Awards. And it's a very simple theme, but it is an important theme, and it's so important to remember going forward into the election. And I'm just going to use one simple word: hate. Hate and divisiveness. Hate and divisiveness have been the tools or the weapons of choice of the Democrat Party to maintain power ever since the days of the slaves. Do I really need to go back and remind everybody that the Democrats were the party of slavery? The Democrats hurled this nation into civil war. The Democrats wanted to maintain slavery. Of course, the Republicans freed the slaves. Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican president. But after the war, it was Democrats who created the KKK. Why did they create the KKK? To instill fear into the hearts of the newly freed slaves who were, let's face it, they were sort of uneducated. They were in a new land. If you were brought to a whole other continent and made a slave, and then you were set free, you'd probably be like, a little scared of what's around you. And the KKK struck fear into them. And that has been the tool of the Democrats the whole time. Hatred and fear. Without hatred and fear, look, the Democrats can't win on their policies, right? Republicans are all about, traditional American conservative policies, which are lower taxes. Everybody's for lower taxes. Less government spending and more personal freedom. Everybody's for that. Less power at the federal government and more power to the states. I mean, you want your control to be local, not federal, because local people know more about what you're about than people 2,000 miles away, right? And so, Republicans, have always been on the correct side. And so the only way Democrats win is by lying and hate and instilling fear, right? And so that is why in these final months coming up to the election, Democrats have gone, and the fake news media has gone into full fear mode. You'll hear so many stations like MSNBC and CNN say, "Oh, it'll be the end of democracy if Trump is elected." Really? What was it? Really? Oh, he'll never leave office. He'll be a dictator. Really? And then, of course, there's the idiots who took his little joke seriously. He says, "Yeah, I'll be a dictator on the first day." A little fun, a little humor there. And the people in the fake news media who actually take that seriously. He's going to be a dictator. It's like these people know nothing except fear and hate. Now, let me remind you about a little story I told in one of my previous videos, which I think is important. So in the 60s, if you're a big television buff and you watch old sitcoms and television shows, of course, Hollywood was mostly white, right? In the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, right? 60s. You get into the very late 60s and early 70s, and now you see characters of other color coming in. I mean, we all remember room 222, right? It's all different colors of people. And all people were coming in. And then by the time you get to the 80s, I believe that by the time the 80s rolled around and we got through the 70s, I believe race relations were on the repair, right? I mean, all colors people's like, we love Michael Jackson was great, Ronald Reagan had Michael Jackson over at the White House. The number one television show in the 80s, sitcom, was the Bill Cosby Show. Bill Cosby was America's dad in the 80s, right? All America loved. It didn't matter about color or anything. And look, it was a beautiful family, right? It was he's a doctor like Ben Carson. He's a doctor and she's a lawyer. And the kids are great. They live in a nice house, and people became accepting of all this. And I think blacks and whites started to get along, right? Now, any political analyst will tell you that if the Democrat Party was to lose approximately 25% of the black vote, just 25, let's say like 75% stays Democrat, but 25% says, no, we're going to go Republican. That's actually the end of the Democrat Party. That's how much the Democrats rely on the black vote. The fact is that the Democrats have always, as I said at the beginning of this video, they were the party of slavery, the party of hate, the party of the KKK, the party of Jim Crow laws, the party of segregation. And do you think they just gave all that up? Hell no. And by the way, all that BS about the racists switching sides, that's all fake history. That's bullshit. The racists still remain in the Democrat Party. So when they see the black vote is starting to go towards Republicans, because finally a few generations of blacks down the road after segregation, you've got people who are making money and they realize that the high taxes of the Democrats are no good. They realize that the Democrats have destroyed the black family. They're starting to vote Republican. And so what do Democrats do? Just like I said, fear. They pull out that handy good old weapon that they always love, which is fear. Now, they can't ride into town in white sheets anymore like they used to. So what do? They scare you with fake news. They lie. They tell you that, us Republicans are racist. We're racist. We're this, we're that. Oh, Trump is a dictator. Oh, he's going to destroy democracy. Every lie in the book, they only know fear and hate. And now tying this in with the beginning of this video, listen to Biden rant. That sick old man was pumped up on drugs to keep himself from falling over onto on the floor and drooling on his ice cream cone. That man was pumped up and started just spewing out hate. He hated on the Supreme Court. He hated on Trump. That was so unseemly to attack your predecessor at a State of the Union. And he just came out. And then what's the first thing on his agenda? Is it helping Americans? No. It's sending money to fuel his little war in the Ukraine where we have no business being. Right? What did he say anything about all the illegal aliens taking away the jobs from blacks in the inner cities and all that kind of stuff? These people don't care. They're full of hate and lies. And it has just gotten now, it has really gotten to the boiling point to where it's just too much. Whether it's the hate and lies from the Democrat Party, whether it's their grooming and sexualization of children in schools. Many of them embrace Marxism and socialism, which just hurts the economy. For those of you who are gun owners, they're still coming after your guns. And in the schools, not only are they doing sexualization, but they're still teaching hate. CRT. CRT has nothing to do with history or nothing real. It's all about hate. So my Lord, people, it is time to wake up and smell the coffee. The Democrat Party of John F. Kennedy and Harry Truman is dead and buried. And their form of liberalism is dead and buried. Now you have a party that is called the Democrat Party, but it is controlled by left-wing extremists. They embrace socialism and Marxism, and they wield the tools of hate and lies to scare you into voting for them. And that is the fact. And you guys really need to wake up to that fact. You know, I post every once in a while online, I post this list of stuff. And I said, and I say the following, I say, in US politics, true evil has manifested itself in the Democrat Party. Democrats promote, are you ready? Anti-Semitism. Yes, I say anti-Semitism, groomers, infanticide, Marxism, child genital mutilation, stripping of free speech rights, stripping of religious rights, the stripping of the right to bear arms, CRT hate and racism, election theft, open borders, high taxes, and massive debt causing spending. Now, usually when I post this, people will just respond, oh, that's just a bunch of lies. Really? I can literally prove every one of those points, right? I'm going to put those points in the description of this video, but I'm just going to touch on a couple of them right now just to prove to you that it's not bullshit. Let's start with the first one, anti-Semitism. I'm sorry, but who is it who is out protesting against Jews and in favor of Palestine? Is it Republicans? Hell no. It's Democrats and leftists. People like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. These are Democrats. They're anti-Semites. So yes, the number one thing on my bullet point, anti-Semitism, is absolutely true. It's in the news, right in front of your face. Infanticide, well, by which I mean abortion. Are you going to deny that Democrats are pro-abortion? And we can have the abortion debate all you want, but the fact is that the baby in the womb is a human being, and all human beings have human rights. That issue has nothing to do with women's rights. There isn't even any such thing as women's rights. There's no such thing as men's rights. We all have the same rights guaranteed in the Constitution. And the number one right of all of them is the right to be alive. All human beings have the right to have their life not taken from them. And that is why abortion is infanticide. I mentioned child genital mutilation. You may go, that's insane, Terry. How can you say that? Really? Do you understand what they call gender affirmation care? If your kid is like 10 or 11, if you have a little boy and he comes up to you and says, Mommy, I feel like a little girl. Biden wants you to go have that boy's penis cut off and have him turned into a girl with surgery. You think I'm lying? I'm going to put a link. And that's called, they call it gender affirmation surgery, but what it really is genital mutilation of children. Biden supports it. He supported it multiple times. I'll put a link to it. He's on video supporting it. So you're damn right the Democrats support mutilating children's genitals. These people are sick. They're sick. Not only do they spread hate and lies to scare people of color and minorities of the Republicans, but when it comes to sexual issues, they are sick. Sick, degenerate, filthy, sick people who really belong in prison. And I will tell you this, any parent who would subject their child to this quote unquote gender affirmation surgery, which is nothing less than child genital mutilation, that parent I'm not supposed to say this as a Christian because God decides who goes to hell and who doesn't go to hell. But I tell you what, any parent who would take their child to have their genitals operated on, and sometimes they have you've seen some of those photos where they have the scars up here from any parent who would do that to the child, I just I can't even go there. The evil of such a thing, that parent belongs in prison. There was a time when they took away, I remember this old story. It's kind of stupid, but Child Protection Service took away a child from these parents because they named their child Adolf. Now, granted, these people were not the greatest parents in the world, and it's kind of stupid because I guess they were like, neo-Nazis or whatever. But the point is, and as stupid as it is, Child Protection Services took away a child from the parents. They named him Adolf. Now, let me ask you this. What is worse? Naming your kid Adolf or cutting off his genitals? I'd say that cutting off his genitals is worse than naming him Adolf. And yet, Child Protection Services will take your child away if you name him Adolf. But Biden will support you if you want to cut off your child's genitals in the name of transgenderism. This is the filthy, sick disease of the Democrat Party. So I beg you, if anybody listens to this video, I beg you, no decent person can support the Democrat Party anymore. You just can't. They're horrible liars. They're destroying this economy. They're destroying this nation. They're destroying cities along the southern border where people are just pouring in. They're flying illegal aliens in. And don't get me into the human trafficking thing and all that. That's for another thing. So to wrap up this video where I started with, last night at the Academy Awards and prior to that at the State of the Union address, you saw Democrat hate and venom and anger on full display. And that is why. Because they are losing on so many issues. All they have left is hate and fear. They want to scare you into not voting for Trump. They can't give you any policy reason, taxes or the military. They can't give you any good reason not to vote for Trump. They just want to scare you and say that he'll destroy democracy. That's their case. So please, I beg you, if you are a Democrat, it's time for you to put your country ahead of your party and vote for Trump this time around. If you're a Republican, it's time for you to get up off your ass and do more than just vote in November. You got to get out. You got to volunteer, whatever you want to do to volunteer. Contact your local, you want to make phone calls. You want to put up signs. You want to sign up people to register to vote at your mall. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do, but you got to get involved. You got to do more than just vote. This is we've reached the end, man. We are at the end. There's some people that think America is already beyond repair and it's too late. And that's possible. I want to hold out a little bit of hope, but one thing, the first step, if there is any hope left, the first step is getting rid of these Democrats. They're evil. Well, that's it for today, folks. I'm going to put a few links in the thing in the description of this video. Check them out. Check out the description of this video and put a little information in there. And please remember to sign up for our discussion forum. I'm going to put a link to that in there. We got a little discussion forum. It's kind of new. There's not many people in there right now, so we're trying to make it grow. So come on by and join that. And I will see you in the next great American video. Adios, muchachos.